Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric tabletop role-playing games here on the internet for you and only for you, no matter what anyone else says. This is Into the Odd, which is what we're playing on Wednesday evenings at the moment in lieu of our usual big ongoing Simbroom campaign. And I'll get all that pesky promo out of the way first. If you check down below, there's a bunch of links to YouTube, links to Twitch. You're watching on one, please check out the other one and like and subscribe, all those wonderful things. There's also links to our Discord, our Patreon, our social media. Those all do what you might expect. If they interest you, give them a whirl. At the moment, we're running 2 weekly series. On Mondays, we've got Warhammer with the Monday crew, and obviously we've got Into the Odd on Wednesdays. Next week, our long-delayed 4th arc of Cincinnati Chronicles starts. That is our ongoing anthology series of different World of Darkness systems, all kind of strung together into one wonderful meta narrative. And we will be starting back next week with Wraith the Oblivion, which is a difficult system and has had similarly difficult pangs as we tried to get it out of the door and into your brains. But we'll see how that goes next week. We also run a one-shot once a month, the most recent of which it was Death in Space, which is a couple of weeks ago. It's still available on our YouTube and will be in perpetuity. And our next one will be on, I believe, Saturday the 18th of June, and that's going to be a sequel to last year's Mork Borg one-shot with a wonderful little giveaway as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's it, I think. In the meantime, let's wheel out our players for recaps. But before we do so, that we have a returning player who won't be doing a recap, but we'll throw him on screen first, because there's nothing I like better than surprising my players by not telling them I'm going to do this. It's Sam. Sam. Hi, Sam.
I'm so surprised. Hello.
shocked and surprised. Sam plays Tiva Oliphant, former coal miner turned dubiously skilled explorer, and there is Tiva's character art. If anyone out there is a fan of our Lego art, by the way, they're going to be pleased because there's more of this coming. So, Sam, is there anything else to say about Tiva, or is that pretty much nail on head?
I mean, I think that pretty much nails it. I'm excited to see where this goes. Meet, I think, some new people as well since I last played a couple new characters, maybe. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So to give our first recap of the day, let's bring on one of those new players. Let's bring on John, who stumbled into the group last week as Narman Ooze. Sadly, no character art yet, but John, do you want to give a very quick description of Narman, what he's about, and how we kicked off last week?
So Narman is a very large, very jolly gentleman who wanders around with his faithful corgi companion, Wexter.
I believe we actually have a picture of Wexter.
We do indeed, and it's a brilliant representation. He has a breastplate and helmet, armor, and also cargo shorts. Not cargo shorts, khaki knee-length shorts, proper dad shorts, and probably socks and sandals. Now that I think about it, he's just sort of stumbled across the group. Although the events I'm about to describe, I think, occurred before Narman stumbled anywhere.
I think they are, yeah.
The events leading up to the introduction of Narman were our adventurers they came across two fellows with a rope and half a dead cow and a hole, and they were using the half a dead cow to try and lure something out of the hole, but the half a dead cow wouldn't fit in the hole, so they put the rope in the hole and kept the half a dead cow out of the hole. And as an audience member, I laughed at this, and then something grabbed the rope and pulled the half dead cow through the hole. So obviously,
and nearly one of the two brothers,
and nearly one of the two. So they were onto something.
Yeah,
is all I'm saying.
This recap section was titled "Two Idiots and a Rope," so
I would argue that maybe we have given them. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they told everyone about the hero shrine to the south.
Yeah.
Hero who defeated the
Muck Bear.
Muck Bear.
It's Muck Bear, not Muck Bear.
Muck Bear.
Yeah.
Isn't he a Honey Heist character?
Possibly. It should also be noted, by the way, John, that that's actually the lost horse that you're showing there, the art of.
What? But I thought.
No.
Oh, so that's Wexter.
That's Wexter.
I assumed because
corgis are long.
Yes, but corgis are also very fluffy at the front.
Sounds like you're shitting on the Lego art that a child made for us in all innocence and.
No.
Corgis don't have hands, John, unlike horses, which absolutely do.
So yes, the group made their way to a kind of abandoned, ruined village where this hero's tomb was. Naaman Ooze stepped out of the fog, I think, late at night and sought sanctuary at the campfire. Why don't you briefly mention what your mission is here in the marsh, Naaman?
I've heard something about a tower where they're keeping, or someone is keeping something or someone from out of space or from the stars or something. It's all very vague, but basically I'm wandering around trying to find a building over about 3 stories and not having much luck.
Absolutely. And Munford, who is the famed explorer in charge of this expedition, decided that it would be great to have another bit of companion on the way around the marsh. And therefore, Naaman was welcomed. And as for what happened the next day when the hero's tomb could be explored, let's bring on Stephen. Stephen plays Helroth Tareen, owner of the world's fanciest hat. Helroth, why don't you let us know what was going on in that abandoned village?
The world's fanciest hat, not pictured here because because Munford made him put it away. So we stopped off in a village and we stayed there overnight, which is when Naaman came and joined us, and Wexter. In the morning, we wandered down into the town square, and there was a group of not terribly friendly but not outright hostile people there, including an old woman who said that they were looking for Willow, who was some kind of trickster, who was 4.5 feet tall, wearing a flowery dress, and last seen at the underwater, drowned at the bottom of a lake or a river or something.
And they were essentially looking for her to make just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure she was still there, because I didn't get the impression that there was a huge amount of affection there for Willow. But Helroth is a helpful chap, and so he said that if he saw Willow, he'd let the group know. Also in the town square there was a well, and there was a monument to Hero, the hero, who, as it turns out, was a kind of a terrier dog. There were steps that led down underground, so we went and adventured in there. There was a room with benches and a kind of an altar, sort of underground chapel, I guess. Helroth took some bricks out of a wall and found a side room full of, I think, probably heroes' remains, or certainly, there were collars and dog bells and possessions, and also a bag of silver-plated bones of some description, which Helroth has declared treasure and kept, which I'm sure will have no negative consequences whatsoever. So he came back and bricked up the wall again, and then they went. They tried to go exploring through. There was like an iron door with a sort of like a sculpted dog's head on it, which was a bit bitey for Doran particularly. I think Doran got bitten twice, and that was like quite a serious medical emergency both times for him. But we eventually managed to batter through the door into a side room, which was even more unpleasant. There was a table at the far end full of what appeared to be golden objects, but which on later inspection turned out to be just like gold painted wood. The floor was covered in a kind of caustic powder that got kicked up and sort of stuck to people and hurt a bit. So we tried to sort of navigate the floor by kind of putting benches in there and kind of balancing our way along. But there were injuries and unpleasantness. There was a false door that fell down on the benches and kicked up a bunch more of this dust. And we generally had a fairly awful time of it. And retreated not long after that.
Pretty much. Yeah, all you ended up stealing from the heroic virtuous dog's tomb was some silver coated bones. But when you got out, Munford did offer the more wounded of you a huff from his snuff box, which has proven to have healing qualities, yes, but perhaps more importantly, just potently I don't know, stimulative qualities, in that, it helps you heal, but it makes you feel real good at the same time. Yep. I'm sure that won't become a problem after a while.
Sure, that'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So the final member of our troop from last week is Chris, who plays Doran Creed, gentleman's gentleman, former butler and carrier of really quite a solid and useful candelabra. Chris, how did we finish last week?
Well, we decided to... was it this at this point? I think we were backtracking because we decided to go and take a look at the lake that we'd spotted earlier. A little bit of a frustration for Mumford, but not so much that he didn't acquiesce, and partially because we kind of wanted to look into this this dead, drowned, troublesome person who we'd been taught to look after, Willow, or we'd been taught to look out for. So off we went to this body of water that we assumed contained her, among other things. When we got there, we found a long, gangly creature, seemingly taking some rest by the waterside and drinking, and a dapper gentleman some distance behind on a knoll, kind of lining up a shot from an expensive-looking rifle. And I think took the executive decision to call out a very jolly hello there and feign not having seen the big, long, gangly thing in order to save its life, which I'm sure won't come back to haunt or bless us later on. But it turns out that this person was I believe the technical term is rapscallion, by the name of the Buzzard. And he knew that we were looking for the Iron Coral. He recognized Mumford Dumbbell and called out to him as a friend, and clearly there is history between these two adventurous gentlemen. And we kind of got some information pertaining a white haven in the bottom corner of the map that we're not technically going to, but which is kind of close to a place we are going to. So we're thinking about it, but not really. Where apparently there's great treasure to be had, and only the small matter of an unkillable force of some extreme power that we have to deal with beforehand. Once we detach from him, Mumford informed us that he basically is a human vulture who tends to follow around adventuring groups and pick whatever value is to be had off their bodies. Although not technically a criminal, about as good as one. And absolutely. I think that's more or less where we left it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So we will pick up exactly where we left off. I believe we have 1 hex left on this day before night comes in. And I think we already have a destination in mind because well, actually, you know what? You move 1 hex per and you're crossing over 2. So you know what? Actually, let me refine that a little bit. Would you like to camp for the evening again by the hole in the ground that definitely has a massive monster in it, or back in Heroes Village? Because you can only cross into one of those hexes unless you want to walk through the night.
I think I'd want to go back to the village because that contains a roof and no terrifying rope monster.
Yeah, the collapsed barn that you went in before. So I don't think Sam definitely hasn't rolled for weather for 2 weeks. So Sam, why don't you give us a D6 roll for weather?
Okay. I rolled a 2.
A 2. Okay, we're back to rain, carrying on our track of literally just alternating between rain and fog with every hex we move. So it is humid, it is rainy, and it is unpleasantly damp as you return to Heroes Village. That the old woman and her family look to be kind of packing up and moving on. You head into the barn that you slept the night before in, and you have an uneventful evening, sheltering from the rain. Munford occasionally muttering something under his breath about, going backwards only means you have to go forwards again. He's grumbling, but you've heard that before. So you wake up in the morning, and I believe you were going to be traveling to the northwest, where there seems to be some kind of building, kind of low to the ground up in that direction. And in that case, John, why don't you roll the weather for the morning for me?
Okay. Can you remind me what dice is the weather?
It's a D6.
6.
So a new thing, finally. As you are getting up, the clouds part, the gulls squawk, and a rather nice day emerges from outside of the clouds. Although I'm sure that will last precisely 1 hex as we make our way forwards. Munford is whistling a chirpy tune, seemingly having forgotten his begrudging of the deviation from the course west overnight, and rounds you up fairly early and strides out from that barn. Are there any kind of conversations we want to be having, or any kind of interactions as we're going to the northwest?
I think I will.
Don't make us role play, Matt.
I think. What
do you think we're here for?
I will execute a. Well, it's a rather nice day, isn't it?
Yep.
It is, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Lovely day.
Munford gives a kind of affirmative noise, which I'm going to kind of attempt to replicate as a kind of oh yeah, in a kind of quite an upper class way. And kind of looks around. You're on a little hillock as you're moving towards the northwest, and he's kind of looking around. You can really see the fallen marsh spread around you now. He takes and kind of peers out and says, there, just on the horizon, perhaps. A bit of a blurry, large, looks almost like a small mountain from here, but I think that's our target. If you follow where he's looking out, you can indeed see where the horizon becomes kind of blurry and grayish, as land gives way to sea in the distance. And there does indeed seem to be kind of like among the, it is a clear day, but not quite so clear that you can see kind of kilometers away through the kind of slight haze drifting off the boggy marsh. But there is definitely something there, some kind of large... it looks almost like a huge building or a very large natural growth of some kind. And you can see it just kind of peeking around the edge of those craggy rocks that stretch to the south. As you travel further to the northwest, you find yourself coming up on the buildings you saw. But it has to be said, they do not look particularly welcoming. There is what appears to be a kind of sinking shack, slowly becoming one with the marsh. Similarly collapsing woodshed to the side of it, and you can see that you can definitely see a bit of movement around it. There seems to be something kind of loitering or spending some time around this shack and shed.
If no one else is doing it.
Oh.
Striding up. Morning!
Okay. As you kind of make your way forwards, you can see quite quickly that the figure is indeed an odd one. If you had to describe them in any way, it would be as some form of ape man. A kind of, partly on two legs, but somewhat scrambling around on their forelegs. They have a club, a large, hefty club slung at their side, and they're kind of perched on a battered old tree that's kind of toppling over near the shack in this kind of the same way the buildings are. And this ape man kind of looks around at you with a kind of like, has anyone seen, they went viral like a couple of months ago, like the really weird looking ape or monkey taking like snacks from someone, and they've got like those noses that are like so flat they almost look like skulls, and they've got like big dark eyes and light. They're weird looking apes anyway, and this is what this individual looks like, kind of peering around with a big fringe of red hair, and kind of looks at you and then peers kind of back towards the shack, and then like grabs a stone from a little pile of stones balanced on the branch that it's perched on, and kind of just tosses the stone at the shack, and you hear a kind of like, ah, damn it.
Okay.
Yernak, the ape man just threw another stone at you. You are still stuck up to your knees in the marsh inside the sinking shack. And the little beggar won't stop.
Have I got anything to throw back?
Let's have a... just give me a D6 roll and tell me what you get.
6.
Snub-nosed monkeys. Thank you. That was from Mike as well. Yes, snub-nosed monkeys. What'd you get?
6.
Yeah, you know what? There's half a brick that's come off the shack at some point, and you reckon you might be able to lob it at this hairy little blighter. Why don't you give me a dexterity roll?
Oh, I make it. Rolled a 3, needed a 6.
The ape man, Helroth, kind of peered around sort of curiously at you again, and is sort of making gestures in the air, some kind of maybe like crude sign language, kind of pointing at you and doing a kind of complex thing, and then pointing at the shack. And just as it turns back to point at the shack, half a brick comes out in a great parabola from the shack down there, absolutely cracks this ape man on the side of the head, and with a kind of it drops to the ground by the base of the tree, kind of throws a small kind of monkey tantrum, throwing things around, reaches up and touches its head and comes away bloody and goes again and is off. off among the reeds and the plants.
Right.
Good Lord, Halroth, what did you do?
I simply said good morning to the chap.
Well, he didn't seem to like that.
Well, no, he lobbed a rock at that shack, and then
And the shack
something
fought back.
Uh,
the shack fought back.
Yernak, you can definitely hear voices, good human voices, not perilous, damned ape man voices, outside the shack.
And I'm still stuck in. Did you say to my
Yeah,
knees?
you are wedged in, my friend.
Okay.
You're not going anywhere without some help.
In that case, I will call out, hello, hello, friends.
And it talks. Greetings, Shack, mighty
Hello.
warrior of the swamp. May we request safe passage. We travel to the west in search of
Wait.
treasure and riches.
Please don't throw any bricks at us, Mr. Shack. We're just passing through.
I don't have any more bricks. But I am quite stuck. If you could assist, I'd be very grateful. I
dare
don't really
we
like it
unleash-
here.
Well, I don't really know an
Dare
awful
we
lot about
unleash an
property management, I'm
ambulatory
afraid.
shack?
Right. Well, if the
A
shack
voice,
needs- if the
a
shack
voice
needs-
from the back of the group from Munford says, "Well, this is an entertaining bit."
All right.
I'm going to examine the shack more closely.
The shack is, it's really very much sunken into the marsh. It's very kind of an old-fashioned building of kind of brick and thatch. You can see inside there are some like bits and pieces scattered around, but it doesn't give you massive hopes that's kind of like going inside and poking among all the sunken and flooded wreckage would give you anything of too much value. But you do also see an individual in there, wedged to their knees in some kind of boggy quicksand. Mike, do you want to give any kind of description of Yernak that you've got?
Yep, Yernak is a strapping young lad in his teenage years. Looks quite broad-shouldered, well-built. Messy hair. Looks like he's been away from civilization for a few days, and is looking very stuck and miserable and unhappy. Do you want me to go into his backstory or anything?
No,
like
no,
that?
we can wheel that out later. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. God damn you into the odd random generation stuff. So yeah, it is as Mike described it.
Anyone want to lend me a hand? Because I'm really not very happy here.
It doesn't look like a terribly tenable position, my good man. Can I physically pull him out? Do we need a rope? Do we need a spade?
I don't know. Like, you can give any of those things a go.
Cool. I don't have any of those things, but I will muse about these possibilities out loud and see if anybody else has something that might be useful.
Erlof, catch. I will throw the candelabra over.
Okay.
It will make stretching out to your neck a bit longer, I suppose, to try and grab onto.
I will reach out with the candelabra.
Okay. Narman?
Nope, I'm waiting to see how the candelabra goes.
Okay. Well, let's... Tiva, sorry?
I think I'll also grab a hold of one end of this candelabra to help with pulling
Yeah, you can
Yernak
both try and pull Yernak out via this multi-purpose candelabra tool that we have established. Tiva and Helroth both go ahead and give a strength roll.
Ooh, I got a 1.
Ooh,
Nice. I rolled a 16.
well then, Tiva, I'm going to say that you kind of like, by the time you'd kind of staggered down onto the edges of the sunken area of this swamp, Helroth had already proffered the candelabra to Yernak, with a very unpleasant, moist sucking sound. The quicksand gave up its grip on Yernak's calves, and the youngster kind of like almost like flies out and squelches onto the unpleasant sodden ground in front of Helroth.
Oh, it's a man, not a shack.
It was a man in a shack, yes. Well, a man in a bog, in a shack, in a swamp, yes.
What is your name, sir?
Yernak Farsi.
Yernak from the shack that fought back. Excellent. Welcome. Hello.
Oh, I suppose that will be my nickname from now on. Hi, thank you for helping. I was in some bother, and I am now trying to brush the quicksand off of me as best I can.
You do note that there is definitely a corgi making his way around you and investigating you.
Oh, okay, well, I'll just give it a friendly pat and ruffle on the head.
Wexter is happy with this.
How on earth did you end up in that shack?
Oh, well, it's a bit of a long story and full of misfortune. I'm adventuring, but I'm quite new to it, and I did manage to get myself quite lost. I thought I knew where I was going. I'm heading towards Iron Coral.
A tall, kind of somewhat skeletal individual barges his way through Dorencreed and Helroth. Telreen stood near you. He's dressed in a very fancy style, lots of kind of black and white ruffling on his clothes, kind of a pair of round glasses and a fancy hat with a drooping feather in it. And he says, another young inexperienced adventurer, I see, to join the group and strive on ahead while famed explorer Munford Dunbell holds the fort and guides. Yes, you'll do. Iron Coral, you say?
Yeah, that is where I've heard I may be able to find my fortune. Yes, was it Munford? Did you say? Very, very nice to meet you, sir.
You have not heard of me?
Oh, well, I think I have actually. The more I think about it,
it's up to you whether you actually have or not entirely.
I will pretend that I have.
I think Mike needs to roll willpower.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, give me a willpower roll for how well you impress yourself upon Munford Dumbbell.
I rolled a 16, so I fail. Needed a 10.
Yes, well, that's just fine. Why don't you stride on ahead of us? Maybe next to Tareen.
Oh, I can do that, but I have already got lost once. So as long as someone else can point the way,
you will receive guidance from back here. Don't worry.
Well, thank you for inviting me along. Very nice to meet you all.
I will quietly to Yernak say, I think Munford must have taken a liking to you. If he's putting the two of us up front, that's, he's clearly put a lot of trust in us for this expedition. So that's really good. Welcome aboard.
Does seem like a friendly chap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very pleasant. Yeah.
As Munford strides to the back, I'm going to say that Narman and Tiva overhear him kind of muttering, "Youth of today, not heard of Munford Dumbbell." So this is what are we investigating the sinking house and the woodshed in any way? As I say, it doesn't look particularly inviting in there, but with a with a bit of poking, you could go in and see. It's up to you.
I think I'd like to pick up the brick and maybe give it back to Yernak to say, "Hey, Mr. Yernak, this is your mighty weapon, so it was a fine throw."
Oh, well, yes, it was rather a good throw. was all I could do. That thing had been harassing me for quite some time, actually.
Very impressive. Just you scared him off with just while stuck in a bog. I couldn't believe it. Well done. I'm sure. Can't wait to see you in action again.
What's the getting like to the woodshed? Because I think we know that inside the house is probably bereft of useful stuff at this stage, but I think the wood shack remains, or the woodshed remains unexplored.
And you know what? It's definitely a bit more easy access than the shack, because the shack you kind of have to fully go inside to look at it. But the woodshed, it looks like it has a kind of half collapsed door, maybe on the side, on the kind of like on the other side from the shack. And you think if you kind of like made your way to the edge of the boggy area and maybe gave that door a good thwack with something, maybe something heavy and made of metal that occasionally has candles on it, then you think you could give it a go.
I shall recover my Swiss Army candelabra and attend to beating the fudge out of this door.
Absolutely. And you can give me either a strength or a dexterity roll, whichever you fancy.
I will take a strength roll on that, please. And I succeeded.
Hey. With a great crack and a crash, the door to that woodshed gives way, and kind of like the fragments of it sink into the bog with an unpleasant plopping noise. Inside is what looks to be the only things that remain. There's a lot of stuff like bits of wood and metal that seem to be kind of half out of the burbling water. You can see what appears to be maybe a relatively intact toolbox sat on a table that's halfway out of the woodshed. And you also see, perhaps even more excitingly, a mostly rotted dead horse floating in the water.
Oh, that's unpleasant. Don't show the horse, lads. There's something awful in here. I'm going to try. There's a toolbox here, which I might try and take for the sake of not wasting a journey, all 20 foot of it. Can someone keep an eye on me in case I meet with a wet fate?
I'll watch your back, good man.
I'll take Binky elsewhere.
It's a good plan.
So with Narman watching you, I mean, by watching Doran's back, what are you doing? Are you like grabbing the back of Doran's trousers to like?
He just asked me to watch him, so I think I'm literally standing in the doorway watching him.
Well, Doran Creed, it's going to take a dex roll for you to get to those tools without falling in that water and spooning that dead horse.
I have a 20-sided dice. I need to get 3 or lower. 14.
Yeah, you have just fallen face down into dead horse water. So, are we going to continue our attempt as you presumably thrash and cry out in displeasure, or are you giving it up as a bad attempt?
Good Lord, Doran, paddle for sure.
Yeah, okay. I think no toolbox is worth my very
shore
life.
Is like a foot away.
Yeah.
Not a strong swimmer is Doran, so I will get myself back onto dry land and go. Right. No.
Good effort, Doran.
Free toolbox for anyone who feels, I don't know, like they have grown tired of living.
Munford kind of glances over your shoulder and says, yes, you really gave that box of rusted tools a run for its money.
You know, I think I'm feeling quite lucky today. I'll have a gander, Doran. You could keep an eye on me and make sure the boy doesn't follow me.
Wexter looks entirely disinterested in following you into the dead horse water.
Wexter, stay.
At the back of the group, Munford, maybe next to, I don't know, who hasn't been involved at this point, Yernak and Helroth. You can hear him going, back in the day, striding like a giant through ruins of European stone, looking for golden rewards hither and thither, and now I'm watching as idiots paddle their way through dead horse water to a box of rusted tools.
Just goes to show you what you can achieve if you follow your dreams, right?
Shut up, Tareen.
Yes, sir.
Narman, how did you do on your dex roll?
I'm taking a dead horse bath.
Dead Horse Bath is my favourite kind of crust punk album from the 90s. Yeah.
Unlike Doran, I think I'm going to try and paddle across if I can.
Sure, yeah, you're going to just go for it.
Yeah. I'm already in the dead horse water.
You are in the dead horse water. Can you, what I want you to do, you can definitely wade over and get that toolbox. What I want you to do is to make me another dex roll, because as you're wading forward, you're disturbing all this water that the dead horse is like half floating in. And effectively, what I'm going to challenge you to, imagine a scenario, if you will. And I have seen this happen before. When I was a child, I was once at a school swimming lesson where another child had defecated in the water by accident, and in the rush to get out of the other children, they had disturbed the water greatly, and so it became not only a race to get out of the water, but a race to get away from the chaotically Brownian motion floating turd that was in the water. And effectively, this is what's happened with the dead horse, Narman. So I'm going to ask you, in the manner of those children of my youth, desperately trying to get away from the floating log of defecation. I wish you to roll so that as you are coming back with the tool, you are not being kind of like just constantly bounced against by the somewhat, it has to be said, a reproachful looking face of the floating dead rotting horse. So could you give me that dex roll, please?
If you ever want to talk about your childhood, maybe the internet is totally the place to do it.
I don't think people will find me by Googling 80s kid
I was
shits
more
in
just
pool.
talking about this unresolved trauma you have.
If you've just tuned in, folks, this is Telling Tales. We do atmospheric role-play games.
I fail. Not as badly as my first fail, but I do fail.
Then as you stride forward, maybe I'd say you're about waist height in this water, and your waist there is, you are unintentionally repeatedly kissed by the lips of the dead horse as it kind of like just bounces off you. The repeated like ructions of your water makes one of the eyes like fall out. There's gonna be nightmares probably at some point, not immediately, but like years later, when you'll just wake in the middle of the night going dead horse. But there's no way to represent that mechanically.
I didn't realise that toolboxes were so important to adventuring. I would have bought one myself.
Well, you never know what's inside a toolbox.
Tools,
it's a
usually.
box.
Tools,
Usually.
Are you opening up the toolbox?
I am using the box to try and push away the horse, pulling myself up out of the water, and then opening up the toolbox.
The toolbox contains a set of very rusty, weak-looking tools, such as you might find in a sunken woodshed in a bog, or on a rubbish heap, or maybe at the back of a craftsman's shop, back where their grandfather had left them, behind the racks of functional tools.
It is indeed tools.
Well,
Hooray!
And
Never
the
know.
good news is they're in a state that I think they're tax deductible.
Excellent. Well,
Fantastic.
today has just started off brilliantly.
I don't suppose anyone can help me hose off this dead horse juice. Can they?
I left my hose back in Bastion, I'm afraid.
Oh,
I mean, you could wash yourself in the dead horse water.
that feels like it's defeating the point.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I'm
Well, I
I'm the
mean,
GM. I'm just offering you options.
We could go back to the watering hole. It looked relatively clean.
We are not going back to the watering hole.
I think there were other bodies of water to the west that might have dead girls in them.
Yes, that would be much preferable to the dead horse.
Wonderful.
All right then. Well, speaking of moving on, so your options now as they are. I won't mention the 2 hexes behind you because we've already been to those. The hex to the south is taken up by that craggy kind of rock range. To the north, although actually, before I say what's going on to the we're rolling a weather as we go into a place. So yeah, you can absolutely see this this stuff. The weather is fine. To the north, there is what looks like a river of some kind, and maybe a bridge. To the northwest, there are some what look to be perhaps some stone columns or pillars. And to the southwest, there, you know what? I'm going to say you can't. Maybe there's a glint of some water of some kind, but that's about it. In terms of how to orient yourself, if you're planning on rounding the end of this craggy range of rocks and heading towards where the buzzard said the beacon was, it's definitely in the direction of that water, which is going to take you a bit closer to the iron coral as well, but it's entirely up to you guys what direction you're going.
Well, I think we were headed southwest, unless anybody wants to detour.
Southwest is fine by me.
Absolutely.
Munford says, "Oh, jolly good. Yes. Forwards then."
Yes.
Excellent. Yes. Farsi and Tareen to the front, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
As you stride forward, those of you who are not Tareen and Farsi near the back hear Munford go, "All right, the forlorn hope." So you are heading to the southwest. Mike, can we have a weather roll from you, please? That's a D6. 1, did you say?
You're on
2.
2. In that case, the clearness of the morning gives way to the rain of the afternoon, which Norman probably welcomes, honestly, because it's somewhat clean water, sheeting down those dead horse-covered thighs of his. And as you stride towards the southwest, I'm going to say that over the gentle pattering of the rain, you do all start to hear something before you see anything. You specifically hear a great kind of grinding and clacking noise. A odd sort of weird tinny voice is also shouting something at quite high volume, but you're not yet close enough to hear perhaps what that might be. It's really quite a cacophony. Occasionally there's a bit of a flash in the sky as a kind of beam of light shoots out and off into the clouds overhead. Munford, it has to be said, looks a little bit cautious. But you won't really make any further progress in this particular area unless you move forward and have a look or decide to go in another direction.
I can't see that Munford looks cautious. He's behind me. So I will stride forwards.
What do you think that is, Mr. Dumbbell? Looks strange to me.
I don't know, but it seems to be loud. Loud things tend to be large. Large things tend to be dangerous. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't very much like the look of that beam of whatever that's flashing around either.
No. So.
All right. Well, I see Tareen is striding forward. Let's hang back just a little bit and see what happens. Yernak, are you striding forward with Helroth?
Yep.
Yep.
Side by side.
Absolutely. Doran, Narman?
I'll stay with Munford. I'll follow the more experienced members' advice.
Sensing the unease in the environment, I will holster my candelabra and unholster my musket.
Sure. Well, Yernak and Helroth, you find yourselves moving round like a small little gully in the swamp. And ahead of you are three things that I will describe. Two of them are features, and the third is the source of the noise. First, there is a pile of rocks about 4 foot high. It seems to be giving off, because you can smell it from here. There are flies buzzing around, and it's giving off the most disgusting smell, even more disgusting than Narman's dead horse thighs. It is really reeking rather strongly. Nearby is a bubbling pond that's giving off a slight steam in the kind of the cool breeze of the rainy atmosphere. So it looks like perhaps it's warm. There also seem to be kind of growths into it, hard red-looking growths that seem intriguing, but you really can't get too much of a closer look at the moment, because roaming around these features around the pile of rocks and the bubbling water is some kind of towering metal man. The metal man is really, let's say, a good kind of like 12, 15 feet tall, clearly very, very well armored with odd grinding noises coming anytime they move one of their limbs, stomping around on the ground, seems to be missing one hand, but the other one is clasping some kind of sort of like a musket or a rifle, but a great deal more kind of like odd and smooth and cylindrical, which it's waving around in a state of some agitation. Now that you're closer, you can hear that with that piping, oddly tinny voice, it's crying out, "Well, I'll show them. I'll show them all. They'll pay. I will control it. I will control everything." It does not seem to have noticed you yet. It definitely would if you went closer to investigate the pile of rocks or the bubbling water.
Or if I shouted "Good morning" really loudly.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to turn to Helroth. Do you think it's friendly? It might be.
It might be, mightn't it? Morning!
As you sort of do say that, it kind of thrashes out with the hand that's still there, that's gripping that sort of rifle-like weapon, and a great yellow glittering beam shoots off into the sky as it's kind of like thrashing it around. It wheels round with a huge clump and a crash, and kind of peers down at you on the ground and says, "Mortals, peons!"
Do I need to roll to see if the gigantic murder robot likes me?
Let's have a willpower roll, please.
Willpower 6. I rolled a 5.
Oh my god. The towering metal man says, "You have no doubt come to supplicate."
Well, we're just passing through, really. That's a very impressive weapon you have there.
It is my death ray.
Wonderful. So, who was it you were going to show? Like, can we help you with anything? My name's Helroth. It's not. I can't really shake your hand. It's nice to meet you.
Well, I am more used to subjugation, but I suppose it is emotion not found.
I'm trying to cut down on the subjugation. If I'm honest, I think it's unbecoming. Not that it's not very nice to meet you.
It is not something you would be familiar with. I am amused by your delusions of grandeur.
Wonderful.
Amused enough to spare you.
So what brings you to this wonderful swamp?
The other brought me here, but they have left. And now I find my own way. I will rule them all.
I see. So you're lost, like Binky.
Not lost. Not lost.
But alone.
Yes.
Well, we're here now.
What does supplicate mean?
Give tribute. Tribute.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
A voice from kind of round the back of the gully goes, "What does it want?"
What do you want, metal friend?
It reaches up into the sky and blasts off its death ray into the clouds repeatedly. Its kind of eyes, which have to this point almost been kind of perceivable in the relatively round, tall cylinder that is its head, kind of flash brightly, and it goes, "Power! Power!"
Understandable.
Also, I would like my other hand back.
I'll definitely let you know if I see that out in this swamp. I haven't seen it so far, I'm afraid. No, I saw a toolbox, but that's different to a hand.
Yes.
How off? Did you say you wanted the toolbox?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It just he wants power and also his hand. I don't think
where did he
I only
last
found
leave
tools.
That's a good question. Yeah, where did you last see your hand, metal friend?
It fell off somewhere.
Oh.
Sometime after the other left. I confess I am having trouble coordinating systems without assistance.
How can my colleagues and I assist?
You cannot. You are in the wrong phase of existence.
Well, I'm terribly sorry to have disappointed you in that respect.
Unless, wait, can you reduce your density?
I don't
Did
think
he just
so.
call us fat?
Well, he called us dense. I don't know. Can you become more gaseous?
What if we just keep an eye out for his hand?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll look out for your hand. Do you mind if we pass through?
No, you have been polite, and if you do locate it, the hand would be considered tribute.
Wonderful. Then we have.
I will spare your families.
We will have ticked all of the boxes, and our families may live. This sounds like a fine agreement.
Excuse me. Do you mind if I borrow your pond briefly?
Certainly, I have no use for hydrogen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. My name is Narman, by the way. Hello.
I do not care.
Fantastic. I'll go rinse my legs off in the pond.
Sure.
I have never loved a murder robot more in any roleplay experience.
Well, now that everyone is in this area, the towering metal man, unless anyone wants to interact with him more, will just be kind of stomping around the area in general, ranting, raving, and occasionally bemoaning the loss of his hand, and also kind of the loss of the other, although that seems to be somewhat of perhaps a bittersweet. He seems to be kind of expressing that now the other is gone, he's the one in charge, but also it's much more difficult to get anything done without the other. So, Norman, you are investigating this bubbling pond. It is indeed a good temperature with which to soak your legs and get all that horrible, rotten hoarseness off them. That sort of hard red, growthy stuff inside it, you can see is a kind of dull red, kind of oddly, slightly malformed looking coral.
Oh. Very interesting.
You are aware of kind of Munford stood behind you as he kind of leans over and peers in and goes, yes. Try and get a scraping of it, will you?
I'll
break a bit off.
Yeah, I'll take a rock or something and try and smash a bit of it off.
Sure.
Can I just use a mallet, Norman?
That would be very handy. Thank you, Helroth.
Pass over the mallet.
As you pass it, kind of Munford grabs it to kind of pass it on to Norman, looks and says, "Most helpful thing about you, Tareen." Passes it on to Norman.
I'd like to think it's one of the most helpful things about me, yes.
Well, personally, I've always put stock in your sunny disposition.
Oh, thank you.
Norman, can you give me a strength roll to try and knock some coral off inside this bubbling water?
Unlike the rest of the group, strength is my worst stat.
Well, tell you what, you can roll dex. Oh, you do it. Great.
Okay.
You reach in and give it a tap, and you know what? It breaks off quite easily. And you kind of like pull it out of the water and have a look. It kind of looks kind of just like a slightly malformed red coral, but it's giving off an odd kind of, when you kind of like touch part of your body like that's close to a vein or an artery or whatever, and you can feel like you feel your heartbeat in your neck or your wrist. It gives off just a slight sensation that something inside is like thrumming ever so slightly. And as you watch, somewhat open-mouthed, it has to be said, the bit that was knocked off underwater regrows itself, but it doesn't regrow in a kind of like naturalish, but just faster. It kind of comes in, you can see like sort of slightly glittering shapes in the air, like the angles, like an architect's plan of it, like comes into place first, and then sort of panels of coral flicker into existence around it until the whole thing has regrown. The process takes perhaps 10 seconds.
Wonderful.
That is marvelous.
Here you are, Mumford, and the coral is no worse the wear.
Yes. That might be very, very bad news. Tucks it into his pocket.
Before we leave, can I try and take some coral as well and sort of slightly secrete it about my person?
Absolutely. Give me a strength roll for that. And while you're doing that, is anyone else investigating the stinky pile of rocks? Or have we had enough stink for one day?
I have largely avoided the stinky dead horse water, so I will go and see what makes the rocks smell.
I'm interested in a kind of definition of willpower, as in, is that the kind of thing that it would be appropriate to have to roll to get near these horrible stinky rocks?
I think so.
Confidence, discipline, yes. I think it takes discipline to get near these stinky rocks, so why don't you give me a roll of that?
It's my dump stat. Oh my goodness, and I pass. I get a 3.
Pass. Well, why don't you tell me what? Because you must be using something to help. So why don't you tell me your stinky rock approaching technique?
I think perhaps we will.
Not the candelabra.
No, not the candelabra. The hat, of course. The magenta bicocket, which, of course, I can use as a kind of breathing filter. Swoosh the peacock feather over one ear. So yeah, I make a sort of impromptu face mask. And,
that makes a lot of sense. And clutching your bicocket to your face, you get a bit closer. As I say, the disgusting smell is really quite potent once you're near the rocks. They definitely seem to have been piled up here on purpose. Like it's not a natural little gathering of rocks.
There's a dead thing under here, right?
Well, there's only one way to find out.
I'm going to move a few rocks and see if I can see something of the dead thing.
So underneath, you find fairly quickly, it has to be said, what seems like a little package. Well, not that little, actually. Maybe a package about a foot and a half or so that seems to be made of some kind of very dried out animal skins. It's sealed up with wax, and it seems to be perhaps one of the sources of this smell, because all underneath and around it inside the rocks are further packages of this wax-sealed animal skin.
Well, it does not smell like treasure, but it looks like treasure. I'm going to take this top packet and see if I can extract it from the rock pile. And
you can easily extract it, and I'm assuming you're interested in finding out what's inside it.
Have a look, yeah.
You pull it out, crack open the seal, wind open the animal skin with very little problems, and find inside what I think the best description of it would be a fermenting seabird.
Okay. I will...
Jackpot.
I will put the parcel back into the pile of rocks, because I think even Helroth is going to have a hard time finding decaying seabirds as treasure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Clearly someone finds them, presumably tasty or useful in some fashion. But I suspect no one in this group is particularly excited.
It's not for me.
No. Do you replace the rocks out of interest?
Sure.
You build back up the pile of rocks, so everyone can have a little dip in that bubbling pond if they want, if they're interested. Are we done here? Any more interactions with the metal man or anyone else?
I would like to basically approach the metal man and say, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind if my dog smells you?" I'm going to see if Wexter can pick up a trail for his hand.
What is a dog?
It's this.
How does that differ from you?
It's much smaller and much furrier, and apparently much longer.
That does not seem a significant difference, but if you wish, your dog may smell me.
Wonderful. Wexter, behave. And I will put Wexter in front of the metal man.
The corgi... Sorry, no, go on, Stephen.
I was going to ask what's Wexter's discipline?
Oh, what's the willpower to see?
Sorry.
Wexter's willpower is through the roof. It's 21. Wexter pops down on the ground happily, runs in a very small, excitable circle, and then dashes over to the metal man and starts sniffing around his feet. The metal man peers down kind of curiously, and after a moment says, "I cannot comprehend how, but somehow this feels like tribute."
Yes, he has that effect on people.
The corgi kind of dashes back happily, having perhaps picked up the scent of the metal man. Whether that will come in useful later on, who knows? Who knows?
Very good. I'll give Wexter a pat and a treat.
Absolutely. So, moving on from this area, folks. First off, if you should want to, I guess, kind of not backtrack, but to the north, there are still those, this kind of circle of pillars or columns of some kind. To the northwest now, which seems to be leading kind of towards the beach that the Iron Coral is on. To the northwest, there seems to be, again, a kind of glinting of a larger patch of water. To the southwest, there seems to be maybe a little rise that has some kind of like dark cleft or opening in it in some way. To the southeast is that the craggy ridge of rock that you are now kind of circling around, and directly to the south is what appears to be some kind of maybe old wooden watchtower. I would also say, because it does point out that it can be seen from the Iron Coral, and if you can see it from the Iron Coral, you can see it from here. I would say further towards and let me get this right here. Yes, further, almost directly south from where you are, there is a even taller tower than the watchtower that looks much more soundly and structurally built, with some kind of burning beacon on top of it. And that is directly to the south. Like further on, though. So to recap, north, pillars of some kind, northwest towards the beach that the Iron Coral is on, some kind of patch of water. Southeast, sort of towards the Iron Coral as well. Southwest, sorry. Sort of towards the Iron Coral as well. Some kind of cleft or opening in a rise. To the south, the wooden watchtower. And further south on from that is what appears to be the beacon tower that is the goal of Narman Ooze's quest or journey.
What time of the day is it? Like how far through the day are we?
How far are you? You sheltered in the town. So 1, 2. Yeah, it's basically late afternoon. You can travel a bit further.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the.
This is your third hex of the day.
Yeah.
So we don't need to try and find shelter just yet.
No, but you will after you do one more exploration. Unless you want to go through the night and take a malice for no reason. What do we think?
Well, my preference is towards the south, but I'm happy following you chaps.
Very interested in those columns.
Right, so we have a vote for south and a vote for north. The Iron Coral, which is our destination, is somewhere towards the west.
Mm-hmm. And it is clearer even now. You can see kind of the towering nature of it, kind of like just as on the slightly dimmed horizon for the afternoon wearing its way on.
I don't know if I get a vote, but I vote for somewhere a little less swampy. Somewhere where I can't get stuck or fall in anywhere.
Somewhere clefty, somewhere towery.
The cleft, if nothing else, might make for good shelter for the evening.
Could be dangerous.
Good,
Yeah,
dangerous.
Dangerous why we're here.
That's a great point.
How about the cleft tonight? Then tomorrow we'll escort Mr. Ooze to his destination at the tower, and then make for the coral.
Sounds
Wonderful.
reasonably efficient.
Sounds good. So you make your way to the southeast, and can we have a weather roll from Chris, please? The magic 2. It's our first double rain, folks. The rain continues, and it continues to intensify until a storm is thundering along above you. That storm leads to great gushes and rivulets of water traveling down from those craggy rocks to the southeast until you are all paddling through what seems to be calf deep water as the I suppose the groundwater of the swamp rises around you. It's quite clear that you're making really quite unpleasantly slow progress here. And it takes you a couple of hours to wade your way through the water to the southwest until you reach near that cleft. And as you approach it, you can see there's kind of like a rise ahead of you covered in ferns and reeds. And mostly illuminated now, it has to be said, by cracks of lightning that leave you sort of like startled but relieved that it's allowing you to see more than kind of 5 feet in front of you. Munford has like a lantern lit and is like trying to illuminate the way. But other than that, it's poor going. And as we move forward, you know what? Mike, can you give me just a D6 roll, please?
2.
2, okay. The cleft, which you can see a bit closer ahead of you now, as we all kind of approach it, I assume we're doing that. Is there any kind of preparations we are making as we do so, or are we just kind of making for it because it's shelter?
Yeah, heading for shelter.
Okay.
I think heading for shelter. I'm not really observing because I think I've probably got like Wexter tucked under my body so that he doesn't get washed away or something.
Okay. As you approach the front of the cleft, you see that kind of to the right of it, sheltered from the lee of the storm, in like the lee of the storm by the rise and by a tree that reaches overhead, there is some kind of very rough wooden cage. And as you get a few steps closer, the front of that cage kind of drops down onto the ground, and there's a kind of noise. And bounding out from the front of it is a quite unfriendly looking dog. It has reddened eyes, froth around its jaws, and it's bounding towards you all in a manner that seems less than friendly.
Heel, dog. Stay.
Can you give me a willpower roll, please?
I can try. No. Just no.
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 In that case, let's have it bound for you, I think. Where is that? I've got all the rules here except the ones for goddamn initiative. Are there rules for initiative? I can't remember.
I think it's just the players go first unless they've been sort of ambushed.
You know what? I'm going to actually count this as an ambush because no one said they were preparing anything, which makes me think you don't have your, your guns out or anything like that.
So then I think we have to do individual dex rolls in order to be able to act first.
Right, gotcha. In that case, can everyone roll dex, please? Why do I not have those rules?
It's on the cheat sheet.
Is it? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
I
see it.
Second box down.
Yeah.
I failed mine.
Did anyone succeed? Nope. Okay, then. Narman Ooze, this rabid dog, is very interested in you. Interested to the point of it's going to bite you. Weirdly, it's literally the only kind of thing on the random encounter thing that doesn't actually give stats, which is a bit annoying. But there we go, or at least anything other than its HP. But I think there's like in the equipment section, there's stats for dogs. So
dog bite. Well, mine is D6, but there may be different types of dogs.
Yeah, this is a much bigger dog than your dog.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a hound. Oh, it's the same. It's the same bite. It's the same bite. You don't roll to hit into the odd. You just straight up hit and then you roll damage. So I've been kind of avoiding rolling dice so far. He said, banging his head. But I think for these purposes, I will indeed roll a die. So, Narman, how many HP you got? Just out of interest.
1, but I do have 1 armor.
Oh, you do have 1 armor. Well, that's good.
I'm trying to refine the rules for.
Well, it just reduces damage by 1.
Okay.
If you've got 1 armor. So this rabid dog bounds through the air towards you, kind of illuminated by a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder, kind of slightly reflecting off the frothy saliva gushing from its jaws, its glinting red eyes. Could you please give me the yelp that Narman makes?
Wexter, no!
The jaws clamp down into your shoulder, and you feel kind of a pinching pain, and hear the kind of like of this thing kind of dangling off your shoulder and desperately trying to drag you down into the muck. Take 2 health points of damage, please. Now that definitely, so that'll be 1 point of HP and then 1 strength, right?
Yeah.
With that new strength, can you give me a strength roll to avoid critical damage?
Okay. No.
In that case, you are unable to take further action until you've been tended by an ally and have a short rest. A short rest is literally just a moment, a few minutes of rest and a swig of water. But for now, you are like on the ground, rolling around, unable to take any real action with this rabid dog savaging you.
2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
1, can I still weep gently?
Yes.
And 2, does Wexter still get to do things independent of me?
Yes.
Fantastic.
But he'll go at the end of the others. So, okay. So I think the thing in Into the Odd is the previous person to act decides who goes next. Is that right? Is that a thing, or have I made that up?
That was
somewhere
Death in
else?
Space. You're getting mixed up.
On their turn, players can act in any order they wish. Oh, okay, yeah. So, who wants to go first?
Bang!
Fair enough. So you're shooting at this dog. Yeah. Do you want to just give me a damage roll, please? Because, like I say, you don't have to roll to hit and Into the Odd. So,
Yep, it is D8, and it's a respectable 5.
It is. There is the crack, like another roll of thunder, echoes out in the clearing in front of this rise. Narman, near your head, you hear a and the dog rolls over into the muck. Dog no more. Yeah. It had to be done. The thing was rabid. Narman is still somewhat insensible.
I'll go over and try and lift Narman up to his feet.
Yeah, well, you can do just that.
No, are you all right, Narman? Did he get you?
He got me. My shoulder. My beautiful shoulder. Wexter. Where's Wexter?
Wexter's
Did
fine.
he make it out alive?
Wexter's perfectly fine. But nothing to worry about. Your shoulder will be all right. Just stay calm, Narman.
Oh, Wexter.
I'm going to roll a die for the randomness of who noticed this. Yernak, while all this is going on, you notice that cage that the rabid dog was in, and the kind of door it dropped down in quite an odd way. You can see that there is a piece of string tied to the front of that cage, and it leads in to the like a tense string, as if it had been pulled to open the door of the cage, and it leads into that cleft.
Oh, okay. Whoever I'm stood by, I will prod and point at that and say, does that look unusual to anyone? Bit of a...
I think you're probably next to Tareen.
The string?
Yeah.
Like somebody opened the cage from inside the cleft?
Yeah. Do clefts normally have string? I don't know much about this sort of stuff.
I'm fairly early in my adventuring career, and as such, I have limited experience of clefts. But no, I've not seen this before.
Today I saw a shack throw a rock. I think a cleft pulling a string is well within the bounds of my expectations, but we should investigate with caution.
I saw a man kiss a horse. Well, half a horse.
It's worth I think I'm going to slightly amend what I told you, Nom. A short rest will put you back on your feet, but I'm actually going to say, because it took twice as long to get here, that everyone is deprived until they get some sleep, which means that no one can take any kind of rest. So that means, Narman, until you can until you can actually get some sleep, you're basically useless. I'd say you can like hobble about, but that's about it, clutching your shoulder.
We've had a pretty miserable trudge in some really bad weather, haven't we? So
Munford kind of like says, kind of peers over at the string and says, well, since none of you gentlemen wish to take the lead, he kind of cocks a pistol and kind of points it at the opening on the rise and says, whoever is inside, sirs, it may be wet out here, but our powder is dry. Come on out. Is anyone adding to this?
Yeah, I say, brandishing a musket.
I will take this moment to reload while everyone is prevaricating.
Sure.
I'll just ready my pistol.
I'll just go and stand near Munford.
I've got a dog too, you know.
There is a momentary pause, and then with a noise, two of those fiendish ape men boil out of the cleft and barrel towards you all, wielding hefty looking clubs. Can everyone who can act, give me a dex roll, please?
Failed.
Passed.
How'd you do, Sam? Nope. Well, Helroth, you can go first then. I assume you're going to shoot the hell out of one of them.
Yeah, they've shown themselves to be bad sorts, haven't they?
It appears to be. They set a rabid dog on you for a start.
Yeah, which is just not cricket, is it?
It really isn't.
Okay, so the musket is D8 damage. Let's roll one of these. That's a 3.
That is a 3. That's cool. Ooh, that's a lot of HP, actually. God, I'm going to need to calculate things. That's awful. And I'm assuming here that not the only reason why the rules work differently for kind of with strength and HP for, I don't know, for the enemies, but yeah, let me know if you have any clarity on that, because maybe that's a bit I think it works the same. Let me just take a moment, and I will very, very quickly.
I'm looking at the rule book, and it just talks in terms of attackers and targets.
I don't think there's any difference in how how they work. So that's all fine. So your what do you have? A musket?
Musket, yeah.
Yeah, your musket ball definitely impacts into the ape man as they kind of hoot and howl as they bound forward. It doesn't seem to particularly hold this ape man back. However, they're not as tall as people, but they're definitely kind of thick and wiry and strong, clearly enough to kind of shrug off some musket shot. And as they bound forward, I'm going to say that they're bounding towards. Ooh, shall I just randomly roll it? I think I will, I think I'll randomly roll who they're attacking with their clubs. Well, one of them is going to attack. One of them is going to attack. Literally, the only thing I could roll. One of them is going to bound towards Doran, and the other one towards. Oh my god! Come on. The other one towards Munford. So Doran, do you have any armor, perchance?
I believe I do not.
You do not. Well, in that case, let me tell you, you're taking 1 HP of damage.
Ouch.
As this ape man bounds towards you and kind of very wildly swings out, attempting to disarm you from your most fearsome item, of course, your candelabra, which is slung on your side and manages to thwack you in the ribs. It's sore, but nothing to put a chap down. So there we go. I assume you have more than 1 HP.
I have more than 1 HP.
Yes, that's fine.
Several more turns of this, and I might be in trouble.
There's no need to gloat, Chris.
The one fighting Munford, I'm going to use NPC rules and just say that Munford kind of like backpedals a little bit with a cry of "Damn your eyes!" And sort of like weaves just as the thing like swings his club and just gets like tapped on the side of the shoulder a little bit. He did take some snuff not so long ago, though, so presumably he can very much work through that pain. So, who's going next? Who wants to go next? Could we say Doran out of the fury of being thwacked in the ribs, or?
I think because I've been thwacked, I think I'll be more distracted, so I'll let the others roll before me.
Okay.
I can go next. Probably do some stabbing. I have
absolutely. Are you gonna go for the one attacking Doran is the one who's been shot by Helroth, or the one attacking Munford?
I'll go for the one attacking Munford.
And that's
gotta keep Munford safe. Munford.
Absolutely. Why do you roll damage for us?
It's a D8 for my sword and dagger, and I roll a 7.
Wonderful. So you kind of swing out with your. It's a sword you've got, right?
Yeah, sword and dagger.
I mean, do you like? I always do the description of stuff in Symbaroom. Do you want to describe how you might go about attacking an ape man with a sword and dagger? I'm happy to do it if you don't want to do it.
I think I'll just kind of yell something about get off, Munford. And I'll kind of barrel into this thing, waving this sword and dagger in a very inexperienced but apparently quite effective way in its general direction, and somehow getting a nice hit on it.
Absolutely. I think what happens is you kind of barrel forward, kind of like thrusting out with your sword, and the ape man kind of reeling round to try and like thwack you after it's thwacked Munford. Kind of basically just manages to impale itself on the end of your sword, not like completely, but it's certainly kind of going through its side and out, and it kind of looks down with its club overhead, going like and kind of like topples off the back of your sword and sort of staggers off into the rain and the night, clutching at its side. unless you want to pursue it and finish the job.
I think Tiva looks equally surprised and is sort of given a moment's pause at actually having hit something like this.
Munford is kind of like sort of half taking aim at the retreating ape man with a pistol, while also kind of like nursing his shoulder and shouts, "Good strike, Oliphant! Good strike!" So Yernak, it sounds like you're next.
I will shoot with my pistol.
Absolutely, presumably the one that's still bothering Doran Creed.
Yeah, that one. And I roll a 6.
Okay. Well then, that takes the creature into the into the red with regards to strength. In which case, it needs to make a roll, which it fails. And you know what? When enemies do this roll, sometimes I might put them down and out of action, and sometimes I might just write them off because they're not interesting or whatever. And in this case, indeed, Yernak. How experienced is Yernak as a shootist?
No, not very at all. Quite inexperienced, I would say. It's a bit out of his comfort zone.
Absolutely. And you have a pistol, right?
I do, yeah.
Well, what you do then, I think you've seen in all the periodicals when they write about duels and kind of gentlemanly matters settled in the most honourable fashion, you often see kind of like woodcuts or drawings of individuals in a kind of firing stance where they're holding a pistol out in one hand and kind of balancing themselves, hand up in the other, and you kind of 1 foot forward, kind of lean yourself into that position as you imagine a gentleman might, a gentleman rather than a fishmonger might fire a gun. And to your shock and surprise, there is a crack and a puff of gunpowder smoke, and the ape man, from your perspective, Doran, kind of just goes and topples over to the side with a great wound in its chest. Ape man down, and the other one is retreating off into the swamp, occasionally howling in displeasure. That's our fight. Not like Simbroom, is it? It's quite quick.
Oh, ouch!
Are you all right, Mr. Dunford? Is everything okay? How's that? Is your shoulder all right?
I will manage, Miss Oliphant. Thank you for your timely assistance.
My pleasure, sir.
I think perhaps we better get ourselves into that cleft and out of this rain.
Oh, do you think, Helroth? Yes, that might be the thing to do. Go on then. Have a poke around in there. Make sure it's safe.
Of course, sir. Yes. I'll go and have a poke around in the cleft, which that's a thing I'm doing.
That's the thing that we said on this stream. That's
not even the worst thing this session.
It's not. It's a long way from the worst thing that's been said on this stream. So is anyone joining Helroth Tareen in the cleft?
I will.
Yernak, you both head in there. The first thing you see, because they are definitely running, or kind of like skittering around on the walls in a state of some excitement, you see a number of large furry centipedes kind of like making their way around the walls, not kind of towards you directly or anything like that, just milling around quite happily. You also see, as Munford kind of stands near the entrance to the cleft and holds that lantern aloft against the storm, you see a pile of clearly what the ape men consider to be treasure and worth of defending with their lives ahead of you in what seems to be a relatively warm and dry little gap in the rock. that you could all pretty much, it'll be a little bit of a tight fit, but you can definitely all get in there for the night. Like the pile looks like mostly rubbish, but can certainly be investigated once everyone is in here and safe, which I'm assuming we're going to do with Helroth and Yernak having kind of first dibs on it, I suppose.
Yeah. Do the centipedes look like bad sorts, or are they mostly harmless?
I mean, they're not making any move towards you, but so Munford doesn't seem too alarmed by the sight of them.
Okay. Then yeah, well, I'll gesture for the others to come in and go and investigate the treasure.
Sure. Yourself as well, Yernak?
Yes, and keeping a very wary eye on those centipedes.
Sure. This pile in front of you consists of the following: a number of items of broken furniture, a whole kind of a clothier's shop of tattered clothes, a couple of quite skeletal corpses near the bottom of the pile, quite a number of bricks, ironically, half and otherwise, and kind of in amongst it all, in a little case, there is a set of silver cutlery. It's quite nice.
Is that? Can we split the set?
Notable. Yeah, definitely.
I guess we both found this as 50-50, right? Cool.
Yeah, if you both want to note down half a set of silver cutlery.
I'm going to take half a set of silver cutlery, a half brick, and a broken chair leg.
That's fine.
I've already got a half brick, so I won't take one.
That's fine. That's understandable.
I'd take more, but they're a bit bulky.
They are. Munford kind of looks over your shoulders with interest and sees the kind of silver cutlery and shakes his head slightly and says, "To the victor go the spoils, Tareen."
Well, that's the rule, sir.
Given it's a spoil heap, it's quite literally in this case.
Don't spend it all in one place. He turns away and kind of is flapping his hand towards the remaining pile of broken furniture with the indication that someone else, not him, should build a fire.
I will start building a fire.
So at some point, once we're a little settled, I want to kind of subtly offer one of these centipedes some of the centipede juice to see what happens.
Sure. So you are there on the wall, kind of like, tell me how you offer a centipede juice.
Well, I'm going to see if I can catch one kind of maybe after work. It's on the floor. Maybe it's heading home. I'm going to kind of wave at it and then offer it kind of just maybe a thimbleful or a cap full of the centipede juice. And go.
You're not going to like try and put it on a bit of food or anything like that to try and allure it into eating the centipede juice.
I don't think I'm that smart. I'm going to just offer it like a little post-work drink.
Sure. Well, you know what? Maybe the centipede juice is alluring, or maybe you're much more of a master at this than you had figured in your wildest dreams. But the centipede does indeed, and I'm trying to find a word to describe the motion of centipedes, and I'm struggling here. How would we describe a centipede's movement?
A centipede.
Because I said skittering, and that feels wrong.
Sort of undulating, isn't it?
Undulate. That's nice. I like that. The centipede undulates over to the little, let's say these little vials. For actually Mike's reference here, they're little vials marked with an image of a centipede that they found in a ruined building. Munford reckons they're poison, but who knows? You indeed, in the kind of cap of the vial, like hold it out, the centipede writhes its way over and does whatever centipedes do to drink things. And seemingly sated by this, writhes off maybe a foot or so before it seizes up almost entirely in a kind of like long straight line, and then does the centipede equivalent of dramatically toppling over onto its side. That is one dead centipede, my friend. One dead furry centipede that never did anything to you.
Can't even do a good deed in this damn swamp. Are you okay, Norman? You took a bit of a hit.
You can definitely have taken a short... Well, no, you can't take a short rest until you sleep, so...
Yeah. I think Narman won't respond because as soon as the fire was built up, he has like crawled himself to a little nook near the fire and is hooked Wexter. He's sort of in his sleep.
He's had a long day. There was that incident with the toolkit.
It's been a long day for Narmanus, a day that lived up to his name.
But we got a toolkit. We made a new friend. We saw off some bad sorts. We confirmed that the centipede juice does in fact appear to be poison.
Could be centipede poison.
And we found ourselves a lovely cleft.
Absolutely. And on that note, unless you want this debilitation to continue, you're all going to have to get some sleep and probably sleep in late as well and wake in the morning. The storm is still pattering down outside. Munford is kind of peeking out of the entrance to the cleft, saying, yes, we've all had a nice little rest, but we really should make some progress. Besides, this place stinks of monkey.
True. Let's get moving.
Norman, you feel fully refreshed. All your health, HP all your HP has come back. And did you haven't had a huff from the snuff box yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
In that case, Munford is happy to offer you a pinch of snuff, which will restore your strength as well.
Wonderful.
You could definitely get a taste for the stuff.
Oh, that's marvelous stuff, Mumford. That's you need to. I would love to know where that comes from.
Wonderful aroma, isn't it?
It definitely gets up there. Definitely gets up there. It's
yes, it is rather Moorish. All right. This watchtower then, yes, to the south. Yes, your options now, by the way, from where you can see. To the north is that kind of some water that you saw in the distance. To the north west is what appears to be a very long sandy beach, presumably on which is the iron coral. To the northeast is back the way you came with the towering metal man. To the southeast is this wooden watchtower, and then further south from that is the beacon.
I think the watchtower was the plan, right?
It was indeed the plan. As we stride forth, who hasn't rolled for weather today? Anyone? Stephen, give us a weather roll to see how it changes or doesn't.
It's a 4.
It's a 4. In that case, quite soon after you leave the cleft, the storm peters out and that pesky swamp mist rises again. It's already kind of like noonish. Obviously, you slept in, so quite a bit of the day is gone. And as you travel to the south, you can see that old wooden watchtower looking down over the swamp. And as you stride forwards, you can see a number of things. First, the watchtower does have like a it's like a like in Firewatch, it's a fire, it's like that style of tower. No kind of like cladding around the side of it, except at the top where it looks like there's a little platform, to kind of a sheltered platform to look out. But there is a set of wooden stairs that sort of lead up. On the ground beneath it are a couple of quite vivid and nicely patterned green blankets, which seem to have been laid on the ground quite carefully. They look very nice make, as in maybe even valuable. Also, there is a sort of a grove of cypress-like trees off onto kind of the side of the watchtower, down a sort of slope, and in where there's more of a patch of water. There is an audible cacophony of buzzing coming from that grove.
Okay.
Buzzing like bee buzzing, or buzzing like unknowable mystery buzzing?
Certainly an insectile buzzing, yes. Buzzing and humming.
So somebody has a lovely garden and some blankets here. Should we see who's at home?
Does seem polite, doesn't it?
Are we going up the tower or calling up it? Or
I'll start walking up the stairs.
Sure. Is anyone else doing anything while Helroth makes his way up?
I think I'll also go up the stairs, given I have a better will than he does, so I should be doing the captain will.
Sure.
You've noticed that the guy with the worst will score is the one that's always
going, hello
into social situations.
Norman,
I'm staying at the bottom of the tower and calling up.
Okay.
Hello there. Good morning.
How about Tiva and Yernak? What are we doing?
I think I'm just maybe investigating the base of the tower. Maybe even heading slightly towards this buzzing to see if I can get a look at beehives or whatever it might be.
Sure.
I'm a bit bored, and I think that I'm throwing this half brick from one hand to the other, like in a sort of like juggling sort of motion, not in any sort of like threatening way, just for my own entertainment. I'm not really.
Yeah, you are a teenager bored of the swamp, and therefore you're juggling with a half brick. Absolutely. Well, let's move on one more one. So Narman, you do your best Obi-Wan impression, and call up to the top of the watchtower. There is no response. Doran and Helroth, you obviously hear this as you're kind of like trudging up. You reach the top of the tower fairly quickly. It's maybe like the equivalent of like a 3-story building or some such. At the top, as I say, is a platform that has nothing there except kind of an old boxy chest, like kind of like a lift top chest. And that's the only thing other than a very nice view of the swamp.
You know the chest is getting opened.
Sure.
Wow, you know that I'm going to attempt to open the chest.
Absolutely. Doran?
I will watch the chest get opened, maybe kind of over the shoulder.
Sure. Inside, you open it up, and at first it just looks like it's full of straw. But then you can see that inside there are a number of kind of like small metal globes of some kind.
Okay. Sort of move the straw aside and see if I can...
Yeah, sure. There are 6 bombs in the chest.
Ooh.
Bombs.
Would you like some bombs, Doran?
I would love some bombs, Elroth.
Well, we've got some bombs.
There we go. Take 3 bombs each.
3 bombs each.
3 bombs each. Yernak, I'd like a dexterity roll to see how well your half-brick juggling is going.
Oh, no. It's not going very well.
You kind of... There's a couple of passes where you get it all right, and then on maybe the 3rd or 4th pass, the half-brick goes up fine, but manages to come down smack on your wrist. There's no HP thing. I would just like you to roleplay Yernak's response.
Well, being a teenager, saving face is very important, so I'll make out like it didn't hurt while turning away and rubbing that part of my arm.
Absolutely. Munford, who's kind of been idly watching you do this, sort of roll unbeknownst to you because you've turned your back at this point. But definitely, Norman, you can see him kind of roll his eyes and go, children. Tiva, you are approaching this small grove of cypress trees. As you make your way forward, that kind of buzzing and humming seems to be very much kind of rising in volume and tone. And you can see in amongst the trees there is a cloud of insects. Not the same kind of insect, not like a cloud of bees or of flies or anything, of various kinds of swampy insect that are buzzing around in a very kind of like tight, almost like a kind of oval shape between the trees. It's quite unusual.
Can I see if there's anything on the ground that they're like following, or are they just...
Sure. You probably have to like wade a little bit into the water to have a look. Are you happy doing that?
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to see what's going on.
You do so, and as you get a bit closer to this cloud of insects, it rearranges itself in the most remarkable fashion to form what is a very strange facsimile of a human face. Just made of whirling, buzzing insects that kind of visibly, like like if those old things made of metal pins where you could like put your face in and it would form like what looked like a face, like that, but of horrible buzzing insects. It is definitely looking at you, and it opens its mouth and goes.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Insect Face, sir. Didn't mean to start you. We're just passing through. I hope everything's going well with you.
Could you give me a willpower roll, please?
Okay. I think I have quite bad willpower. I rolled 11, which definitely fails.
Okay. The buzzing equivalent of language seems to have not a hostile tone to it, but certainly a sort of like a kind of like pointed querying tone to it, as it mouths out another humming retort towards you.
Oh, well, apologies for trespassing here, Mr. Insect Face. I will move back to my friends now. Good day. And I will slowly back away towards where the rest of the group are.
Absolutely. I think it's probably safe to say that Helroth and Doran have come down from the tower by now.
I was going to, before I came down from the tower, just spend a few moments up on the platform looking around to see if I could figure out why somebody felt the need to have a raised platform and some bombs in this particular spot.
I think it's safe to say you definitely have no idea of that.
Okay.
If they wanted to have a general tower here, the beacon tower to the south is higher and far more well built. You can see that it is, in closeness terms, in game terms, it is the next hex to the south as well. And also, since you're up that high, you know what? I'll give you some extra perspective. Further to the southeast, immediately to the southeast, you can see what seem like some squawking birds flapping around a bunch of trees. And then the furthest southeast you can go, kind of clutched away in the in between the rocky kind of hills and the edge of the swamp is what looks to be some kind of stone bunker of some kind. And then everything else is either hidden by the kind of small crag range or you already know, essentially.
Okay. So yeah, it seems like the main thing that this watchtower is here to watch is the slightly bigger, more well-built tower.
Maybe.
Cool. Yeah, then I will come down.
Okay, then Tiva, you can approach the group. I don't know if you want to mention the insects or not.
Yeah, I will definitely. There's a kind of human face of insects over there. Just a big group of insects. Tried to talk to me, but I didn't understand.
Tiva, have you been drinking again?
Swarm face. Do we need directions to anything?
I don't think so.
Metal hand, if it is likely to have come across anything like that, but
It didn't seem especially friendly, if I'm honest.
Well, then, maybe a more charming member of the group should go ask it where the metal hand is.
If you insist. I'm going to go and ask Swarmface where the giant robot hand is.
Oh, fates help us all. Yeah, you walk to the bottom of the slope into the water, and it's exactly as Tiva described. There is a cloud of bog-friendly insects, which resolve themselves into a human face as you approach, and inquires of you in a buzzing tone.
Good afternoon.
Power roll.
That's a fail.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a giant metal hand, and I'm led to believe that you're the kind of gestalt entity that's quite good at giving directions.
You can't tell what the swarm face says, but you can tell the tone. And I think we'll leave that there, shall we?
Good day, sir. I'll back away from the swarm face. Well, I'll turn and walk away from the swarm face.
You reach the top of the rise where Munford seems to be kind of like taking yet another huff of snuff and saying, well, yes, to this beacon tower of yours then, Ooze, is it? And then maybe, gentlemen, we can find our way to the coral where we have been intending to go this whole time.
Sounds wonderful.
Well, no time like the present. Let's get on with it. Come on.
Come on, Wexter.
If nobody else has done so, I'm going to take one of the nice green blankets as we leave.
You absolutely can. Note that down. Is anyone taking the other one?
I will. It'd make good bed for Wexter.
Absolutely. Take a green patterned blanket each then. And you stride to the south towards the beacon tower with that brightly burning flame on top of it. And that seems a good place to leave our session for the evening. Thank you ever so much for watching and playing, according to which you actually did. Please pop questions and comments in chat and we will address them. In the meantime, it's everyone's favorite thing to do. It's promo. So if you check down below, you will find a bunch of links to Twitch, links to YouTube. You watched this on one of those platforms. Why not check us out on the other and give us likes and subscribes and bells and whatever, all that stuff. It's all good. We also have links to our social media, our Discord, and our Patreon. They are all there and doing the thing you might expect them to do. Please join us on those too. We currently run two of these series per week. Mondays is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which Sam is running with the Monday crew, which includes this reprobate to my left here. And this is obviously Into the Odd on Wednesdays. We have a long-running Symbaroum campaign, but we're taking a little bit of a break from it to run this for a few more sessions at least. And next week sees the return of Cincinnati Chronicles, our World of Darkness anthology series on Thursdays. We'll be picking up with our Wraith the Oblivion arc, so join us for that if you want crushing existential despair as part of your roleplay experience. And we also, once a month, we do a one-shot at some point in the month, usually, but not always near the beginning. The most recent of which was Death in Space, which is on YouTube, along with all of our other one-shots. There's lots and lots and lots of them there now. Please do go check them out. There's One Ring and Tales from the Loop and Cyberpunk and Alien and Troika and 1,000 others. Not 1,000, but nearly 1,000. Not nearly 1,000, but a few. The next one will be Morkborg, which is taking place probably on Saturday, June 18th. It's a sequel to one we did last year, but you don't need to watch that to enjoy it. Just come along for the wonderful black metal album of a role-playing game that is Morkborg. And there will also be a giveaway for that. So if you're the kind of person who enjoys a possibility of getting free stuff, then you'll want to join us for it. So do that. Okay, John, commenters. Steve, how are people finding Into the Odd so far then? A worthy interim system? Players?
I think it's a lovely palate cleanser, isn't it?
Absolutely delighted by the fact it's gone so delightfully kind of Gilliam-esque. I'm thoroughly enjoying abstract Python-esque rambling.
Yeah, I think someone in the first week, maybe John, said it felt like kind of Blackadder, the role-playing game, which it was a bit more sane when it was in the city. But I think, yeah, Python Gilliam is a very good comparison. I'm not like it definitely kind of encourages you towards that, and it's definitely something I'm leaping on. Probably because I literally last week binge watched a Python documentary series, so that probably encouraged me towards it. Anyone else? Stephen, I think you were saying.
I was saying I think it's a great palate cleanser after Symbaroum in terms of like being tonally different, but it's also it's very pacey and I like that, and it's it just seems to be a system designed to give you carte blanche to be strange, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
I like that. I do enjoy that kind of that it's very different to Symbaroum, but I also really like that it's sort of just like, at least at the moment, it's just like simple. Like you go to a place, there's a little thing there, you kind of interact with it a bit, like it's just a nice change in terms of kind of the format as well of like what you do and like how you interact with the world. Like it's very neat kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely the most kind of like classic D&D-ish thing we've done on the channel, I think, in terms of like it's even this in a swamp is effectively a dungeon bash or hex crawl, or like
I think this is the first time I've actually been in a hex crawl, because even the D&D games I played in were more kind of high fantasy, kind of the dungeon was interconnected and stuff like that, and this is very, very much micro encounter, and it's all in good fun. I am enjoying it.
Good. Next. Malus, hello. Personally, I'm loving it. Well, that's good. I am glad. I'm enjoying it so far from Night Bites as well. Well, that's all lucky because we do this all for you. I mean, the audience, you Night Bites, we do this all for you. Yes, I'm glad people are enjoying it because every time you pick up a new system, especially if it's like an indie-ish system people might not have heard of, you do worry that people aren't going to like it and numbers are going to crash through the floor. Such numbers as we have. 42. Into the Odd horses are shorter than they are long and have arms and hands and long flowing hair. I mean, where's the lie?
Go ahead.
No, go.
I mean, we were discussing earlier about the possibility that all dogs in Into the Odd are actually a form of lizard.
Yeah. not out of anywhere I could really define on the like private Discord, but I would like to confirm just for the record, as I did on the Discord, that in point of fact, dogs are dogs and horses are horses. That's I'm drawing the line at the surrealness at that. That's
all right, Ayn Rand. That's my obscure philosophy joke for today. Thank you, everyone.
I appreciated it.
Somehow
not
the
Ayn
dog,
Rand, but
the dog lizard thing also was in Simber. I don't know if that's where it came from, but I remember dogs being lizards in Simber as well.
Yeah.
Or lizards being dogs.
Yeah, barbarians have like hunting lizards, don't they?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was the are they dragons? Are they dogs? Is a Lindra a dragon slayer or a dog slayer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Next, Steve, into the odd, quirky Victorian industry fantasy and monkey violence simulator. No lie there.
I'm upset at how many potentially innocent creatures we've had to kill so far.
Those 8 men had it coming.
Yeah,
They were
wielding those clubs with intent. Also, they were throwing stones at a man drowning in a swamp.
I'm gonna save the guilt for Blackmore. This is just
yeah.
This is holiday time.
One from Steve. We are the absolute worst adventuring party, aren't we? Yes, you are. Yes.
The thing I like about it is that we're
Munford.
We're absolutely the most chipper adventuring party as well, which is just a delight.
You need Munford to steer you forwards ahead of him.
Yeah.
Good old Munford.
And Night Bites, that sounded like an out of cheese error 404. I don't know what that's in reference to. Someone help me.
It was when the metal man was talking. He was like,
"Oh, emotion not found." Yeah. Don't kick food, hey. Magenta N95 by Cockets. Hey, it worked.
Oh, that's a series of words I wish I didn't have to know the meaning.
Sounds like something to put on the first Telling Tales t-shirt.
I absolutely hate Steve for this comment.
Stringy Cleft.
Oh, God, why would you?
I don't even... Why? What? Stringy Cleft.
Maybe we should ban Steve.
For some reason, I can only read that out in my head in a Peter Kay voice as well. Stringy Cleft? So...
It's one of the lesser-known bardic instruments.
I did like that from Steve, Cleft for Dead.
Oh my God, that's
engaging in the fight. That was good. I liked that a lot. Have we got anything else? Is there anything else, John?
I did quite like this one.
That snuff box must be the size of a cake tin, or it's an arcana that has endlessly restoring snuff in it.
Oh my God.
The twist.
Hence why it heals people up, you see.
You mean normal snuff doesn't do that?
This is not normal snuff. Normal stuff gives you a buzz. It doesn't do what this does. Yeah. There we go. Lovely. All right. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Join us next week for more Into the Odd. Thank you to my wonderful players, including John, who's been basically guest starring for 2 weeks. So thanks to John for stepping in. And we'll see you next week for further oddness. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye.